Welcome, and thank you for joining today's webinar, Measuring AI Answers, How Third-Party Sites Influence Who Gets Cited, presented by Citation Labs and Search Engine Land. I'm Danny Goodwin, Editorial Director of Search Engine Land and SMX. Before we get started, I have a couple viewing tips for you. If you have any audio issues, you can click the audio icon on your screen. If you have any viewing issues, you can use the Q&A section to communicate with us, and you can send any questions or comments directly to the speakers about their presentation at any time. Now it's time to introduce the speakers. Joining us today from Citation Labs are CEO Garrett French and Managing Director, Product and Growth, James Wirth. Welcome, Garrett and James. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm going to turn things over to you.
Thank you, Danny.
Thanks, Danny. Okay, welcome everybody. We're excited to be here today. We're going to do our best to earn the labs part of our name, Citation Labs, by sharing some things we've been experimenting deeply with and hopefully give you some guidance around all these crazy paradigm shifts that we're all experiencing together. So Garrett, do you want to say anything before we kind of jump into the presentation? Do you want to talk for a minute?
I would be concerned about keeping it to a minute, but I am deeply excited to be presenting today. We are, here at the beginning of really trying to understand how do we represent impact or change that we're seeing in a way that's meaningful in our at the end of a Q1 review, right? So
Which
what's been happening? It's at the end of the month here. So we're at the end of Q1. So what the heck has been going on when it comes to work in AI and AI visibility? What are we doing? So really that's been our lens all along, is kind of having something to show, right? Not just for us in link building, not just the link built, but what impact did we have? And as we veer into what we're calling citation optimization work, how do we show what has happened and, claim some relationship between our work and what we see occurring. So that's what we're here for today. We're grateful to have everyone here. We are, in active practice. We're in work. We're a work in progress, working in progress, and we look forward to sharing what we're seeing.
Yeah. Okay. Great. All right, so let's jump in. This is going to be a great discussion today with Garrett and me, and we hope we get some great questions coming through. So please send those questions. But let's just kind of level set here. This may be call me Captain Obvious after this, but the old SEO playbook really is just gone. Actually, I shouldn't say gone. It has shifted very dramatically. It almost feels like we're in the industry of realigning to the moving goalposts. That's our job in so many different ways, because things do shift all the time. And depending on how long you've been around, I think back to some of the really big, what felt like earthquakes to me early on in my SEO career. The Penguin and the Panda update, those earlier era sort of big shifts that happened, and all of the other ones that came along with it. And each one of those felt like, wow, this is a huge, huge shift. And then we would get another one and it would feel like this is a huge, huge shift. But this shift, this feels at a level that I just had not experienced at any point. It may be bigger than all of the other ones combined. So, let's talk about that and just kind of dig into that a little bit and level set on some of those changes. And so they're listed right here. AI answers start with retrieval. So if you got to be in it to win it, from that perspective. If you're not in the citation set, you're very unlikely to get recommended, included, etc. So we really are talking about kind of that baseline of getting into the citation set. And, I promised that I wouldn't use the F word, but I'm using it one time here, fan out. It's all about the query fan outs. So, we're not going to cover a lot of that really deeply in here, but I just wanted to get my one F word in, or two. I guess I snuck an extra one in. And then, talk about how AI systems are retrieving content, not by just serving up a list of pages, of course, but by individual contextual elements of a page, often referred to as chunks. We call them echo blocks because you want to echo that content across the web, especially in the AI answers. And if your content is buried, your main selling points are buried in a mountain of content, then the AI is likely to not retrieve it, and they're going to be looking through across a lot of different sources of information as well, not just individual provider websites. You're providing that product or that service if that's your offering. And then, of course, we know, much to the chagrin of all of us, many of those prompts, those I'll say it again, fan outs, those those opportunities to earn a click are not involving a click. And so, what do we do about that? How do we then even track things? It's a new era for sure, and we've been experimenting like madmen and women in the company. It's been an amazing kind of experience of learning all of this and really digging in. We've built tools. We've got all these initiatives going on, so I'm really excited to be able to share, more of that with you. But the key is we still have to be able to track. Even if we're not earning the clicks, we still have to be able to track. So the biggest part of our discussion here, the recurring theme, if you will, is what the heck do we do? As Garrett mentioned, we're going to be at end of Q1 at the end of this month. How do we report activity? How do we report visibility? What does that look like now? And that really comes down to prompt level tracking, and I'll sneak it in one more time, fan out level understanding of what's happening when a prompt is given and the AI system grounds itself in that prompt in order to generate an answer. So we'll be weaving that throughout the process, essentially. And a big reason for that is because there's some skin in the game from our perspective. This is self-serving to some degree for us, but I imagine it is all for you. We need to defend the spend, whether that's our job or our client relationship. We've got to be able to speak to the purse strings, the higher ups, the ones making the decision about whether we keep an investment or end it. How are we providing value? And that's shifted so much that it's challenging to provide that proof, but we're going to do our best to give you some guidance on where we can go to deliver that. Essentially, things have just changed so much, and so really there are kind of two components here that are important to double click on. One is how you're structuring your on-site and off-site assets. If you think about them as surfaces, you can think about them as content, as pages, as documents, etc. Where content is being served, how is that content being structured? So that's sort of number one, and we're going to talk a lot about that. Decision assets and citation optimization and a number of other things. Really excited to get to Garrett's slides, but also so that's one aspect of it, as how are we structuring our content on and off the site, and then the other piece of that is how are we reporting on the visibility around that content. Yeah. And there are a lot of conversations, we're in them, about whether rank is still something that should be tracked. That's certainly an ongoing challenge, especially as the goalposts continue to be moved and are just very active right now in terms of where we have no idea where they're going to land. So how do we make good on all of this effort, the investment, our time working for a company, with these goalposts constantly moving? What does that look like, and how can we, to some degree at least, future-proof that content and then, or that effort? And then how do we track it? How are we looking at competitors? How are we looking at our own visibility? What metrics do we use? That's a really important one. How do we measure that over time? Are we even measuring the right things? Are we looking at things through the right lens? These are all questions that I'm suggesting as questions now because I'm constantly trying to answer them, and we're constantly looking at whether we can answer them or not, and then can we influence them? Can we have an impact on them? So clear reporting is critical, especially when you're having those conversations about defending the spend and certainly keeping our jobs, and everyone's responsibilities are shifting. What does that look like? We've got some really interesting things to share, and so this is kind of the baseline for us. Is essentially this was our hypothesis. If we publish a comparison asset, And we'll kind of talk about what that means, as we go. But if we publish a comparison asset that matches what these AI systems are looking for, are grounding themselves in, are citing in their answers, can we influence that list of providers that they're going to serve up at some point during that conversation? Might be a couple of threads down, but at some point they're going to surface, as that customer journey continues and gets closer to a decision, they're going to surface a list of providers that could be that can sell you the product or provide you the service or have that offering. Can we influence that? Can we, one, get a brand into that list? And two, can we move them up in that list? Can we do that? That was the hypothesis, was that if we publish content that aligns with what AI systems are looking to ground themselves in, I mean, they're going to find it, retrieve it, and use it in generating their answer, then we can influence that list. And so we have been building these offsite comparison pages with a number of features and elements that have been surfaced through our own research and through data that's been released, case studies that have been released that will influence or are like at least correlate to a higher level of citations in AI answers. And so we've been working on what those look like. How can we improve the frequency of being cited, the recurrence of being cited, as well as can we influence where a subject page or domain or offering is showing up in that list. And the not to bury the lead here, so I don't bury the lead, the result here is that when these assets are cited, the subject page or the subject client's performance has outperformed when they're not cited. So we've got some early but substantial, statistically significant, high confidence, reasonable sample size results sort of thing. And you can kind of see the stats up here on the screen in terms of what's behind the graph that we're seeing right here. And so we're not going to just throw a bunch of graphs. You never know if they're actually accurate or not, or real. They are. This is actual work that we've done, and exciting work, because while we can't necessarily claim causation, we at the very least see a very relevant, very direct, very high correlation between having comparison content cited in results and a brand increasing their rank in the list of offered services that the AI answer provides. And so essentially, just to unpack this a little bit, what you're seeing on the screen is, this is rank. You can see the vertical axis on the left. That is the position of a brand is showing up in that list of results. And the two lines represent the orange being the instances when our comparison content was cited in that AI answer, versus the blue line, which is when they were not. And while the numbers are relatively close together at the volume that this is at and at the competition level that this is at, this is highly relevant to the brand, and they were over the moon about the results. And this is just one study. So we've done a number of these for a number of clients already, and we're seeing similar results. And we thought it would be worth sharing. Essentially, we've got a tool that helps to do this, to be able to track this, and we've got an approach that is working. And so if you have questions about that, please put them in the chat. I don't expect this to necessarily be earth-shattering to everyone, but it certainly is to our clients, and we're very excited to be able to see those sort of results, be able to acknowledge that our hypothesis was correct, at least from a corollary perspective, if not a causal relationship there, and we're just over the moon about it. So at this point, I'm going to pull Garrett in so that we can talk more about, essentially what this means when brands are trying to stay visible in AI answers, and he's got some great content to share. Do you want to say anything before we jump into the slides, Garrett?
For sure. These are early stages. These are, I wouldn't say that we've changed the training data. This is not like we've affected the core beliefs or core entity scores or what have you for these
This is when
brands.
search is invoked.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this is just to again level set, and so but from the from this this perspective of having positive impact to be able to talk about in any quarter, it's definitely been meaningful for us to be able to bring this as an example of impact. We do come from link building, right? Like I've did Citation Labs will probably always be a link building agency, and we really we found our way forward with enterprise as we were demonstrating link impact and being able to say, hey, when we build these links, here's the impact that we see. And so that kind of ethos really has been guiding us, is what kinds of constraints can we put around what we're measuring, what we're seeing, so that we're able to have a small enough kind of not sample size, but a small enough pot of water to get it boiling, I guess, so to speak. Really be able to show what how hot we need to get it boiling.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been absolutely thrilling to be able to see thrilling to see the early evidence of impact. So I kind of teased earlier, we're trying to brand, just walk with me here, folks. We're trying to brand this notion of citation optimization. And so there's a lot of, what are we talking about? What citation? Do we mean on-site, off-site, cited domains, cited pages? And so the answer is yes, all of those things. We've expanded our umbrella of examination and kind of what we feel like we need to have a say in and be a party to impacting, based on this notion of, well, what is going to be cited. Now, there's a lot of this. I'm going sideways just slightly, James. If I go too long, pull me back. But there is thank you. There is discussion, and I think important discussion around a lot of times a LLM, any given like kind of model will have already made up its mind, and it's looking for something off page or out of its current index to kind of justify its recommendation or what it's saying. And so, like, there is question, there is uncertainty here. But
it wants to validate its descriptors. It wants to have a high confidence in what it already assumes or has inferred or implied, and it's going to look for those signals off site.
The other key piece that we've been dealing with, and this is a significant place, is the notion of, like, because we'll say, citation optimization, and people will think, oh, if I get my domain cited more, I'm going to do better. I might appear better, and that's not necessarily the case either, because a mention of, so we're differentiating between a citation, which is an actual like link, or which we're not expecting anyone to click, but an actual link within the responses, and then like a brand mention within the responses as well, but then more to the point, an actual recommendation, or at least not a don't use this one, or a warning. So we've experienced and seen cases where being mentioned is unpleasant. So we're really trying to shift into, I don't like to say, James said the F word, I'm about to say the S word of sentiment, okay? Because it really is like a little bit of a, it's very slippery to say another S word, but anyhow, there's a huge difference, and I think a really important distinction to be made between a citation, whether it's your domain, it's a competitor domain, a third-party domain, and then which page specifically are we talking about being cited, and then the brand mention within the actual response, and then the sentiment around the mention. And I'm preaching to the choir here. Thank you for being with me through my sermon. But the point is that we are really working hard to advance this language around what are we talking about? What are we doing? What are we trying to impact? So the real goal for us is like, how do we get those recommendations and those recommended mentions? To do this, we're looking at on-site. We are looking at on client site. What pages are getting cited? Is there more evidence we can provide here that's going to be in a format that's that first of all have information that's consistent across pages, across the brand or the web's understanding of what this entity is or what this offering is. Then offsite, and then we're really looking at trying to get in volume. We're looking at volume. I'm just going to say it. Now, we believe, but haven't proven yet, that this is going to be a pathway to impacting the training data as well. That's our hope, ultimately. But we have been working a lot at what are we talking about? What is citation optimization? And we invite you into that quest with us, that search. We're defining it. We're doing the work that we're evolving link building in our own practice into this place of what we're calling citation optimization. James, if you would advance us, sir. Thank you. One of my favorite topics is decision efficiency. How much time do we have left for this?
We got 40 minutes.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Stay on this slide for 40 minutes. No, this place is quintessential from, we've been for years, telling people, hey, you need to have helpful, high quality content on your website. And we've been pushing people to have helpful, high quality content on their sales pages, right? That really genuinely helps people, informs the decision. And what we're also seeing is that, very particularly to the slides that James shared earlier, when information is provided in a comparative matrix, think affiliate site, right? We have distilled a number of decisioning factors down to a point where it's faster to make a decision, to try and select the right one. Now we know, if we've been in this space for we all know what affiliate pages can be, and that data can mislead, and structures can inform a choice that might not be optimal for the human making the choice. But we fundamentally believe and lean into the belief that enabling best possible decisions will always result in best possible content, right? So really trying to enable a human in that moment of decision to make the best possible decision for themselves, and putting that on your website, off your website, is particular to the purchase decision, right? You are going to, worst case scenario, win because you've established more trust with the person visiting your page. So decision efficiency is something I've worked a long time around and built up formulas that around how do you genuinely enable a human, and sometimes a group of humans, right? Like, we're going to have different stakeholders making a large B2B decision. How do we enable these humans to understand each other's perspectives? What are the grids and the graphs that they're using to decide? And then where's the overlap? And then how are they arriving at the best possible decision for themselves? So we believe that's possible, and that the really standing up content that particularly allows people, the decision makers, to see into kind of the potentially negative ramifications of doing something, buying something. Who is this not a fit for? is uncomfortable for us as marketers to say, but it ultimately assists the decision process. It makes it a faster no. You're enabling a faster no. And anytime you're trying to enable a person to do that, I think you're helping LLMs as well, right? Like, so you're helping them inform them or their models for around decision efficiency, because what are they trying to do, right? Like, what they're trying to help humans make faster, smarter choices. I hope. I very much hope. I let's just say I believe. So decision efficiency, though, has been at the core of the kind of the ethos, or how we're trying to approach content on behalf of our clients, and certainly when we see that helping make fast decisions with comparative structures is rewarded by LLMs, and we saw that in the slides that James already shared with us. James, am I leaving anything out there, or is there anything I could like obscure?
I think one element, we might want to include here is just a little bit more about one of the levers that AI systems have, which are these descriptors. And so, they, over the course of prompts and what they're getting from humans and how they're grounding themselves in search results when they run these queries, first of all, it's the intent classification, and then it's the query transformation, and they decide, okay, what are we going to do with this? Are we going to decompose it down to these, strip out all the stop words and anything extraneous and just run these 5 or 10 queries and get results back? That's the fan out. And then, what do we do with that information? Does it confirm what we already know that's in the training set? Is there net new information that we want to factor in? And can we get signals about this? Can we establish or challenge the descriptors we've already assigned to that entity or that brand? And that whole process is designed, at least in part, to around this decision efficiency. Can I make this easier for this human to make the decision that they're discussing with me? And how do I do that? And these descriptors come into play there. And so one of the things that we're influencing when we talk about the essentially the narrative out there around a brand, especially off the page, off of our perfectly sculpted sales landing page where we have no negative information, we don't want to send them anywhere else on the site, we just want them to convert. The challenge with that is that the internet out there is already influencing perception. And so what Garrett's talking about here is essentially participating in that conversation instead of reacting to it. And that's where the real magic of this decision efficiency is. And it does involve those descriptors and influencing the narrative around them.
Thank you, James. And just to belabor one last time, and we'll move on to the next slide. This is literally one of my favorite things to talk about. But we really are trying to ground this in from a cognitive effort perspective. We're trying to reduce the cognitive effort of the person in the moment deciding kind of what to do. How do I make the best possible choice for myself? So we're de-risking. How do we de-risk their whether they yes or whether they no? And then in concert with a larger with a decisioning committee, how do we de-risk the whole committee's kind of decision, whether that benefits our brand or not, or whether we get a sale or not necessarily. So we do really, and really this has come about from, I got sick of hearing make useful content, right? Make helpful content. Like, well, what do you mean? What does that mean? And when we really aim at this place, I feel like we can take a clearer, more certain shot at enabling or content that's genuinely helpful in that particular moment. We maybe should have said at the very beginning, James, should we have said that we hyper focus on the bottom of the funnel? I mean, should that have been?
I don't think that we said that, but we probably should say that we work from the bottom up. Yes.
Oh gosh.
Yes, that's
So
important. And
anyhow,
if you followed Garrett for any period of time, you'll recognize some themes in here. You know what came before he was talking about, he kind of boiled it down to decision efficiency. It was, a number of other things that tie right into this. The purchase decision committee, Garrett's written volumes of that on the website and other sites. It's the flux, the frequent, the friction inducing latent unasked questions, which evolved out of the frequently unasked questions, or the Fuchs, which didn't quite paint quite enough of a picture. And so this is this evolutionary process, as Garrett has iterated on this, to get to the point where we're really talking about reducing those frictions from the perspective of making a decision easier. And that's how we're shifting the narrative inside the AI systems responses.
Thank you, James. We're still, I think, okay, 2 points. So this slide is great. This is kind of illustrating or helping see into the kinds of the areas that can, for our audience, cause a friction or a slowdown or a freeze in decisioning.
Consternation.
Yeah, for sure. So we do. So one of the places where we've landed, especially in the work in comparative assets, are the axis of decisions. Like, what are the specific columns in the table, in the comparative table? Because these are the axis of decision, right? From in our model, and so audience is going to align or see or appreciate these various kinds of table headers, so to speak. And then very specifically, we're looking to one of the places we've been leaning more recently is a place we call the axis of advantage, which is just, hey, if we we look at all the comparative tables that are currently being used at the bottom of the funnel. We look at what are they mostly comparing one to each other, and then what is a unique table, or unique rather column or set of columns that the client is uniquely valuable. Does that mean we're shifting the audience, we're shrinking the audience size? But when we where do they really shine, and how do we make sure that is a column within the comparative kind of universe, right? So then it becomes an issue not just of like, hey, how do we improve our visibility or how do we improve our rank? We're like, okay, well, how do we continue to assert that this unique value proposition of ours is genuinely valuable, right? Like, how do we put data into that column that proves that this is a valuable column to include in your decisioning matrix, right? So this is, this is part of our work. This is part of the work we do, is arriving at that place. And my humble submission to this, everybody listening today is, hey, this is the anchor text. This is what we're really trying to say is important and say we want to be visible for. Now, does that mean there's demand around it? No, there's not people searching for your unique value proposition necessarily, but you certainly need to be able to express what your unique value in a data supported manner, and then continue to assert why that column should be included in everyone's comparative matrix. Again, we're BOFU centric. We have some tofu stuff though. Is that our next, James? What's our next slide? Yes, tofu. Tofu. We got some tofu for you guys. So this came about because we were asked to do some high level, we had a client that wanted to know what should they write about on their blog that their competitors are not writing about, right? And so for us, like, our focus has been like, how do we, we've really focused in that place of how do we show that our work is having impact in visibility, right? Like in at the prompt tracking level, or the prompt evaluation level, when we're looking at 400 prompts that are kind of isolated on this one audience set or this one problem space. So the O2O model really we arrived at this place because we needed a way to connect higher level topics with the granularity of this is a client that has software or SaaS product, higher level topic with the granular value of, let's just say, a single button within the product itself, right? Like, yeah, you can, topically you can achieve X with this. You can improve your customer response rates, but it's a blank claim, and so we can have a topic that's, we could say, hey, competitor X has written about this, you guys haven't, so how do we, here's what you need to say, here's kind of a outline for the copy, but to really ground and bind this topic to your actual offering, the thing you sell, we said we arrived at a place. Well, first of all, we took all of their help documentation, so we kind of map out the UI itself, right, and then be able to show from this larger topic perspective the granular buttons and how they connect to the broader outcomes that people were trying to achieve in the topic. We haven't shown that we don't have any results from this. This is TBD in terms of what impact have we seen from this. But this was a very exciting place to arrive because it forced us into the top of the funnel, first of all, not normal place for us to really have to work and solve for, right? But it gave us something we could then track, right? From a prompt perspective, are we beginning to see breadcrumbs for how to achieve things with our client's software in LLMs? Are LLMs able to give clear instructions to people on what to do, which buttons to press, where to find them, as it relates to topic, right? Like, so very exciting, but also, again, this is the labs. This is the labs talking here. We haven't built into that, our instrumentation hasn't shined its light there yet. What else do we have, James?
Yeah.
Is that our last one?
No.
Oh
no.
This looks like a James slide to me. This is like, guys, this is like, I love the theory, I love testing, but then really being able to prove something, I'm always gonna default to James.
Well, you mentioned it already, though. You teased this topic out about recommendation rank when you were talking before about the different ways that we can gain visibility inside an AI answer. And so you can have, of course, the citation. You can be included. You can get a mention. You can inform the answer itself because of content, and that's where what we're really looking at with that test that Garrett was talking about, where it's higher in the funnel. Can we inform the conversation in a way that essentially shifts the narrative toward the offering, tying back even earlier in the presentation to the unique value points of that particular brand? And so that's that key aspect of this is where higher level content can come into play. One challenge is, that when the query fan out runs, I said I was only going to say it one time, but that's like my
oh, you
fifth
said
F-bomb
query fan out, not just fan out. So
that's true. I changed it. Yeah. So when that runs, the AI system is going to look for a variety of responses. And so this is where those multiple surfaces come in as well, and how they can influence recommendation rank. Circling back to that graph that I showed where we had the two different lines, and that was the time series graph, and the line that was performing better was the one that had this is third-party content that we had placed, not content that we built on the brand's website, but it being present, it being cited, it's informing the discussion, and it's increasing the recommendation rank of the client, of the subject page or domain or brand. And so that's a critical aspect of all of this is, we can't just go for rank anymore. First of all, just kind of to level set for a minute. of course we want to see how we're doing in a prompt. Are we getting visibility in a prompt? But in terms of ranking, it's not so much about ranking for the prompts. And I hope everybody is, up to speed on this, but if not, I just want to mention it just in case. It's not so much about ranking for the prompt itself. It's more like we want to track visibility in that prompt, but in terms of, with the exception of recommendation rank, but in terms of thinking about it from a traditional SEO perspective, what we want to rank for are those query fanouts. And it may or may not be on our website because, as I mentioned, the AI system is going to look for a variety of sources and surfaces. And so it's about ranking for those query fanouts, not necessarily for the prompt itself. In other words, we get into the query fanout, that gets us hopefully cited, included, mentioned, recommended in the prompt. But what we're doing to get in there is to rank for, in traditional SEO, we're going to rank for that query fanout because that's what it does. It classifies it, transforms it, decides what's it's going to do with that, decomposes or infers or adds additional information. It looks at all the signals in that prompt and it runs those query fanouts. So you can look in your Google Search Console. It's the ones where you rank well for. They're super long tail. They're very, very well structured and organized, and you get 0 clicks for them. Those are likely your query fanouts. And so dig into Search Console because you can find those. You got to do some digging, but you can find those, and that will give you a sense for where your visibility is coming from now. Does that align with your offering? If it does, great, do more of it. If it doesn't, now that's your opportunity for net new content on your surface as well as third-party surfaces that will inform and contribute to that narrative. You got to be in it to win it. So this is how you get in it: is you rank for those query fanouts. That's what gets you in the grounding layer that the AI system does in order to include you in the generative layer when it builds that AI answer.
And I'm pretty sure we're only pulling those right now from ChatGPT, but those are, my understanding from my dev team is those are implicit in or explicit in the what we get back from. I'm already out of school here, but we're not necessarily
surfacing him in the tool, right?
Yeah,
the tool, by the way, it's on a slide. But if you want to go, look now, it's xofu.com, zofu.com. You can run a snapshot. It will simulate the queries for you to give you a sense for where your visibility is based on the content on the page that you put in. So it's just a good starting point, there to start to dig into this and better understand it. There are a lot of tools out there, AI measurement tools. As Garrett mentioned, we're from the ground up. So we're starting with, put your sales landing page in there, see what kind of visibility it has. If you have content that's parked in different places on your site and it's not on your sales landing page, if you've been following Garrett for any period of time, you'll know the phrase money page. If it's not on your money page, it's likely to not be included in the AI answer. So we could think about content from that perspective as well, because they're not going to crawl your entire site just because you showed up for one query fanout. We got to think about it from that perspective too. The AI system wants to be efficient also. And so where is it going to go for the grounding layer in its answers? Just think about it from that perspective. But this is what we're talking about, some of the elements that we're using to be able to track AI recommendations.
And I would have to also just completely be transparent here. And we really, in our tooling, we're manually identifying recommendation rank. We don't have that baked fully into the tool itself yet. But we are able to express it and see it and show it in a graph form, but that still is a moving target for
it's evolving.
Yeah.
It's evolving,
the recommendation, it's just a reminder for us as marketers that being mentioned in an AI response isn't always great, isn't the best thing that can happen. Like, we don't want to be number one for worst citation optimization, right? You don't want to show up for that, but what if we were? So that's a place that, you genuinely are not winning, even if you get mentioned, right? So should you count it? Well, we want to be able to earn the recommendation, and that isn't just from offsite, like things you can do offsite, or because obviously, like if you've got thousands of comments in Reddit and like whatever G2 or all the different types of surfaces where kind of general opinions are formed, you're going to have a lot of work on your hands for optimization purposes. But
yeah, can I say one more thing right here, Garrett?
please.
One thing that I also, hopefully everybody has this understanding, but just in case this hasn't kind of clicked, there is a lot of discussion on LinkedIn and elsewhere about Google versus AI. And I just want to plant the seed, or maybe water the seed if it's already germinating in there, that Google is AI. So it's a strange comparison to think about, and this is important when you're thinking about laddering up these conversations to the higher ups, from the perspective of when your CMO, for example, or whoever you report into says, oh well, ChatGPT has such a low response, or it's such a low amount of our visibility, we don't need to think about AI. Well, we want to just approach that from the perspective of Google is also AI too. So just keep that in mind as we're kind of wrapping things up here. And I want to make sure we have plenty of time for questions, because we've had some questions come in, Garrett. So do we want to we got like 2 slides left, and this is kind of the main last meaty slide here. Do we want to talk about this?
Yeah. This is our denouement, if you will, if I can borrow one of my favorite LLM words. But this is what happens when you publish comparison assets and they get cited, and the comparison asset favors your brand. Your brand recommendation increases. You are recommended higher than your competitors are. Is that rank? I mean, I don't know what it's like. I don't know another thing to call it. I don't know another thing to call it.
We have to track rank. It's you cannot rely on running
what
a
am I
prompt
supposed
one
to call
time.
It? Like your number, you were number 2, and now you're number 1
determined.
or whatever. You're moving up in visibility percentage,
something.
or okay. But how? At what point are you recommended across 100 queries that are not overlapping and from different kinds of perspectives and informing different aspects of the decision, different aspects of the problem that people are likely to be solving at the bottom of the funnel as they're trying to assemble enough information to make a great decision for themselves. How often are you recommended there? I mean, we don't have to call it rank. We don't. You tell us what you think we should call it.
Do you show up? Yeah, and do you have the visibility you want, whatever that new metric is, which is still the the jury is still out for sure, but everybody's got an opinion on it. Whatever that is, that's what we're trying to improve.
Yeah. Let's get to questions. We're going to talk.
Okay.
I can tell I'm ready to rip now, but we better move on to questions so I don't just keep talking.
Yes, let's make sure we get them answered.
All right. Great presentation as always from you guys. We will dive right into the questions. There was one from May here about offsite or off domain. What domains are you referring to? Others you own, or sites like Forbes?
Yeah, those are, yes, both of those. So Forbes is like usually the front and center, most frequently cited domain at the bottom of the funnel for large, consumer categories, insurance, loans, business-related things, oftentimes. But I would also call out that when you are tracking prompts that are more granular or from an expert perspective, you will find that there are different cited sources. So it isn't going to be enough to simply call it. If you're not in Forbes though, and your competitors are, get in Forbes. Yes, by all means. So we're not going to help you with that. You're going to have to go knock on those doors. That's not usually a Citation Labs type of problem. We're really saying, what can we as an agency address at some larger scale, and you're going to still need to knock on your regular doors and go, because that's an affiliate play. I mean, you're going to have to hand that over to your affiliate
Bring your
lead.
pocketbook.
Yeah, bring your money with you. But yeah, we're absolutely talking about modeling content in certain verticals. We're not saying this is a panacea. Hope I pronounced that right. Never heard it said. But panacea, I think. Yeah, I have heard it said.
Tomato,
Right?
tomato.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But my point is, you will need to publish. We have published content that is in the format of an affiliate site, and we owned it. It was our we owned that. So that's what we saw get drawn into the answers.
Yeah, it's kind of like in all of the above too. Start with the prompts, get your prompts dialed in, figure out who has the visibility, look at the citations that are helping them get there, at least a correlation to the citations that they have and the visibility that they have, and then see if you can also get included. So it's definitely in all of the above for sure. Build your trust, build your authority, get cited on content that's already being cited in the prompt, in the AI answers, and then fill in the gaps around that.
All right, we'll move on to another question from Emily. Have you both found if there is a specific number of citations that is needed for your brand to be mentioned in a fan out?
Oh no, I can't answer. No,
That's like the $1 trillion question. Yeah.
No, there's no like fundamental like number. James has, yeah. Go say it, James. I can see you.
But
Yeah.
the one consideration is let's use the data that we have. We can't. There's not a. I wish we could say exactly. You need X number of links, but all of the factors that we've always dealt with around qualitatively around content or backlinks, et cetera, all that is in play. All the many algorithmic factors and sub-factors, all that factors into some degree. Factors into some degree. And so, but what we do have is a platform that we've built to help us dig into that, primarily built for ourselves, and so that we can start with the prompts, be able to understand the fan outs that are being run. Are we showing up in them? Yes or no? Who is showing up in them? Who's getting the visibility in these prompts? And start to look at their citation sets. Who else is showing up in those same prompts that is benefiting in terms of recommendation rank, like we were showing, that is benefiting those other brands that we're competing with and want to outpace. So we can get a sense quantitatively, at least to start looking through that lens that you're mentioning there in terms of who is showing up at the top of that visibility list and what does their citation set look like. That will give you at least a benchmark. And we have another tool that's built for traditional SEO, backlink graph comparisons, that helps us do that as well. So yes, you can kind of get there. You can look at who's getting the visibility now, and that's your North Star.
And I think I'll also say that we hear a lot like, hey, you guys don't know what people are actually prompting or how people are actually using AI right now and what kinds of multi-hops are. So a lot of this is like not moot, and then personalization, we hear a lot about, well, with personalization, you can't really know anything. And I still believe that when we construct prompts, and we've worked at this a lot and thought about this a lot, is when you're constructing prompts to represent the different sort of commonalities about how people make purchase decisions, particularly, you're able to at least model the types of concerns that are likely, not definitely, but likely to be represented or kind of solved, or they're trying to be solved for with personalization. Can we see into that place? Of course we can't. Nobody can. But I just want to call that out. Like it really, but the prompts that you're tracking are 100,000%. Like as an industry, we're under indexing on that right now. Like really, there haven't been enough discussions about what prompts are we actually tracking. Well, you'll hear a lot of people tell you what not to do, right? Like it's what LinkedIn's full of right now. Don't do this. Oh, don't do that. You can't do this. You can't do that. Well, what works in your industry isn't going to necessarily make sense in somebody else's. So proceed slowly, conscientiously, and really build out a basis of the types of prompts you're tracking so that you could be more likely to answer questions like, well, how many citations do we need? Well, are we even tracking the right prompts? Do we even know? Yeah. Are we, and again, just a reminder to everyone on this call, bottom of the funnel is where we have hyper focus. So when I say prompts, I mean like bottom of the funnel types of decisioning prompts. Yeah. What else we got, Danny?
We had a question from Yazid. Why is decision efficiency often overlooked in content strategy?
It might just be semantics, like my own, because do people try to help others make great decisions with their content? I mean, theoretically, maybe it's so persuasive, like the marketing side of content marketing is going to be kind of trying to get people down a funnel and to, make a decision that benefits the company. And I still want that to happen too, but I know that that's not necessarily giving our humans, the people, the audience, the community, the information they need to make the best possible decision for themselves and their organization. And so that's where, things like Reddit come into play, and the reviews and the review sections. And so we really have pushed a lot for people to lean into customer service logs. Where are we seeing frictions emerge? What should we have said on the sales page before we took their money, right? So that we wouldn't have this issue we're having now. How could we have better informed our buyers? It's a scary place. We're marketers. We get paid. We get paid if the company gets paid, right? Like this isn't it's a tough spot.
That's the thing, Garrett, is, I think one of the challenges, I'm slightly more jaded on this. I think one of the challenges is that because our job as marketers is not to help people make the best, most informed decision. In other words, remove that friction, make it more efficient. Our job is to sell them on our offering, our product, where it's always with that bias. There's this book called Answering the Central Question. And the central question is, what decision can I make or action can I take in this moment to create the greatest net value? So creating the greatest net value or reducing the friction or increasing the efficiency might be, this product isn't right for you. And we don't want to say that. So I think that's certainly plays into why decision efficiency isn't always present in our sales landing pages.
But it's present in your humans that you're marketing to. And
yes,
like,
it is.
They really do want to make the best possible decision for themselves. And, and so will their LLM and AI associates, right? We hope that's where they're going to lead us. What else?
We had a question from Kelly. How important is video in AI? Used to be considered good for SEO, and what is the status with AI?
Okay. So we are absolutely seeing YouTube videos show up. In what vertical for what types of prompts? Well, not every, we're looking in the pharmaceutical consulting space. There are actually YouTube videos there, but not as many as in like some different small business SaaS type spaces, right? Like invoices or, these types of areas. So some of it will depend on, what's being published here. But we did see, this was crazy, but somebody had published to LinkedIn the recommendations from a video, and what got cited, right, was the LinkedIn post. But what the post was a top 10 list that had been pulled from a video.
From the video.
The video. And I don't remember if the video was actually cited as well, in addition. But my point is video important? I think absolutely. I mean, let's talk about the platforms that everybody's vying for, Google, and who owns YouTube. So how do you not try to?
I'd say it depends. You can look at the data. I mean, you can look at the data. You can see if video is getting included in the AI answer. You can also look at the citations that inform that AI answer to see if video is in there, and then you can answer that question with a relatively low lift. And for many of the prompts that I've dug into, yes, video is important.
Okay, I was just looking through these questions. There's a few here. I think we'll just do one more and call it a day. There was one from ARR. Do you think citation-dependent AI mentions will stay or be replaced by more bigger brands' dominance?
How dare you?
1 to 2 years?
How dare you ask that? We just got here, okay? We just are getting comfortable. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I mean, moving target, like how long? Okay, ask the question again, Danny. I might have just been responding emotionally to what I thought I was hearing. Let me hear one more time.
Okay. Do you think citation-dependent AI mentions will stay or be replaced by more bigger brands' dominance in the next 1 to 2 years?
Whew. I think it's going to depend on the space. I think it's going to depend on the types of questions that are being asked. I think if you have a product or you're in a space that things are shifting quickly, if you sell hammers, maybe your game time's up. But if you're selling like instruments that are part of, I don't know, an evolving market space where you have to kind of stay up to date on things that are shifting and changing, then you're going to continue to see emphasis on citations. I would guess. So if I understood the question correctly, that's my answer. If I didn't, just email me.
Yeah, I think I would confidently say we don't know at this point. We know that we've got to throw out the playbook. It's such a different calculation to serve up that AI answer than it was to serve up a single page or really 10 pages. Just 10 pages or more go into a single AI answer now. Inform that AI answer up to 2,000 words, maybe more. Inform that AI answer. So I think we don't know at this stage, but we're definitely trying to figure out.
All right, let's sneak one more in really quick if you guys can stick around for just 1 minute. Brenda was asking, small business here, how do we find where competitors, what citations they have, and mentions on a budget-friendly site? AI hasn't specifically shown me.
So we might be conflating, and we realize we would be leaning into this space, but there are, small business citations, and our colleague Darren Shaw made a tool for citation building, right? Which is NAP data, name, address, phone number, and trying to get that on as many different websites as possible. And so Darren, go to Darren. Like if you're talking about like that type of small business citation, which isn't like, it's kind of, I guess, the same relative kind of idea for entity citations, but so it's not too far removed. But I think that's the answer that is go check out White Spark. He's built out a site, that kind of citation analysis. We did release a citation optimization or kind of comparative tool within, it's in beta still, but within the Zofu tool set. So I don't think that's quite what you're asking though, but it's more about where, at the bottom of the funnel, when someone is asking about what's the best umbrella for hiking, well, we're going to be able to kind of show all these different surfaces that are being, that you're cited on, but or that you're not cited on, but your competitors are, and kind of do comparisons there, so you could see which domains and publishers are contributing in a where are they but you aren't sort of play.
The answer's a hat, by the way, Garrett. The best umbrella for hiking is a hat.
Oh, wow, I love that.
All right,
I'm gonna put that to the test. Okay, like I'm about to go hiking in the rain. Actually, we're in Louisville, and it's hiking time for me. It's walking time. I'm gonna get out and walk. But Danny, you wrap. I was about to wrap. I'm wrapping like we're on a client call. Go, Danny,
yeah, we're good.
I'm in Danny's house. Go, wrap this up.
All right, we'll wrap it up. That's all the time we have for today. If we didn't get to your question, we'll be sure to pass it along to Garrett and Citation Labs. On behalf of Search Engine Land, I want to thank Garrett and James for their engaging presentation, and thank you all for attending this webinar. We hope you will join us again soon. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.